In today's episode, I will share with you the common misconceptions that people often have when thinking about minimalist living. The first misunderstanding that people often get wrong when thinking about minimalist living is, if it's minimalist living, then the fewer possessions, the better. I have also briefly mentioned this a few times in previous episodes. However, today I will delve deeper to discuss it in more detail. When you explore this lifestyle, you will surely come across images of minimalist living. For example, there is nothing in the house. When you open the cupboard, there are only 5 pairs of chopsticks, 3 bowls, and 2 hats. That's the general idea. When you learn more, you will see that some people set standards for minimalism, such as minimalists are those who only own 100 items or 50 items. Even in some extreme cases, people chase these numbers as a way to compete for achievements. In my opinion, these things are completely contrary to the spirit of minimalist living. As I have shared with you in previous episodes, the spirit of minimalist living is to look inside oneself to see what one needs, how much one needs, and what truly enhances the quality of one's life. From there, one lives adequately according to those needs. And also because everyone's needs are different, minimalist living does not have a common formula. Each person must find their own definition of what they need and what their goal is. On the contrary, if we keep chasing those numbers, and then we ourselves also have to live in deprivation, it can be said that it is going against the original purpose of minimalist living. That is to make our lives better. Competition with each other like that can easily lead to the result of making us dissatisfied with our lives. Because we keep chasing the numbers from 100 items, then we want to go down to 50 items, then seeing our friends living at the level of 40 items, we want to go down to 20 items. And just like that, we forget whether doing so adds value to our lives or not. We forget that with our needs, living with 20 items will not be enough. Of course, for those who only need exactly 20 items, living with exactly 20 items, I don't say. But what I want to say here is that we should not care about the numbers outside, but care about what is inside us. The key point here that we need to find is, what is the adequate level of our needs? And when the concern here is adequacy, we live in accordance with those needs, not more and not less. For myself, I will definitely not buy things that I don't use, or if I only use it once in a while, I also won't buy it. But on the other hand, it's not because I'm living minimally that I don't allow myself to own the things that I really need. For example, many minimalists oppose owning a car. But personally, I really like driving. In addition to being a daily means of transportation, it also helps me get to places where public transport can't take me. And I often go to the forest and into the mountains for trekking or camping. Then without a car, it would be very difficult for me to do these things. That is, with my lifestyle like that, if I don't own a car, it clearly reduces the quality of my life a lot. Therefore, in the list of items that I own, there will always be a car, even though I am a minimalist. The second misunderstanding is that some people think that a minimalist lifestyle is a harsh one. Many people believe that a minimalist lifestyle is of low quality. They even imagine minimalists as people who dress shabbily and own cheap items. Firstly, I want to clarify that there is nothing wrong with using cheap items. It's just not economically efficient. I have analyzed this in detail in the previous 2 episodes. However, this also depends on each person's financial ability. Not everyone has enough money to buy good items right from the start. And the value of a person should not be judged by the items they use. I want to delve a little deeper to share with you a small experience of mine. It might be a bit off topic compared to the topics we are discussing. Naturally, it is a valuable experience that I have learned. If I had the chance to go back in time, I would also want to share it with younger versions of myself. But before I share, I need to clarify that my policy has always been to focus on the quality of my life. We shouldn't care about external standards or what others think of us. If you have been listening to my talks for a long time, you probably understand this spirit very well. After many years of refining life experiences for myself, I have also learned a valuable lesson about using items, in this case clothes, properly can also help us a lot in work and even in various aspects of life. Specifically, I used to be a person who advocated focusing on the quality inside, and I didn't care much about the outside, specifically in these cases is dressing. But gradually, I realized that it was not necessarily wrong, but it was not necessarily right. This stems from my little stories. Since I was young, I was taught that good wood is better than good paint. And for a long time, I lived with the principle that I just needed to focus on developing myself, focusing on acquiring more knowledge and improving my abilities, meaning focusing on the wood part. As for the outside appearance, it's just rough, as long as it's not too shabby. There were even times when I was radical, thinking that only those who lack confidence need to use items to enhance their self-worth. Later, when I matured a bit, or to put it bluntly, when I became a bit less naive, I gradually realized that this way of thinking unintentionally limited my thoughts. I could only choose one of the two. Either I was good at wood or I was good at paint. But why isn't there a third choice? Why can't we be good at both wood and paint? Because when I studied carefully, I realized that paint is also very important. It not only enhances the aesthetics of the product, but also helps protect the wooden parts inside. For example, why do I often wear a vest when meeting guests? When we learn, we will see that the root of the vest was developed from the armor of ancient European warriors. Therefore, when we wear a vest, it makes our posture more upright and our body gestures more open. From there, naturally, it creates a confident demeanor. And in the psychological aspect, it automatically gives us a feeling of confidence. This is what I say entirely about the aspect inside us. I have not mentioned anything to the guy outside. It is the fact that when others talk to us in a suit, especially in a professional working environment, the first impression is very important. These things are entirely under the psychological aspect and have been properly trained during the time of being a love teacher, not just about the fashion aspect or anything else. Specifically, in my daily work, my current main job is advising some companies. Therefore, most of the people I work with every day are senior managers, and they give me certain powers that have a significant impact on their business. Of course, everyone knows that the core of this job is the wood, which are the results that I will achieve for them. But now, try to imagine, if you look at me and see me shabby and disheveled, who would dare to assign important tasks in the company to such a person? Therefore, if there is advice for young people, I advise you to start learning about these jobs early. After all, it is also a kind of knowledge that we should know. Whether we use it or not, we will consider later, but we must know and experience it. Try not to put yourself in a situation where you have to wear a vest but still don't know how to tie a tie. How can we fit in any environment, in a dinner party? If careful, we still know full etiquette. When we go to the countryside, we still know how to behave properly. That's the good thing. We must know everything. Don't let us lack knowledge in any situation. You guys try, don't stand outside and criticize. It is a complicated style, but after all, it is also a kind of knowledge that we should not lack. If there is a chance, I will share more with these topics in a different way. Let's go back to the topics we are discussing. We are discussing the reasons above, so I understand very clearly. When there are some of you who are doing jobs that require neatness on the outside, such as those working in finance, investment, or banking, these are jobs that need to create certain trust in the eyes of customers. Obviously, we can't look shabby and disheveled. Through what I just shared, I must have answered almost all of your questions. My job also requires neat and professional dressing. I still live minimally every day, but through what I shared with you in the previous episode, it can be seen that minimalism also helps us in the opposite direction. Basically, it helps us own fewer items and from there, allows us to own higher quality items. I talked in great detail about this in the previous episode. If any of you haven't watched it, you can watch it again. I will leave a link to the previous episode in the upper right corner of the screen. The reason for this worry is because many people misunderstand the two concepts of minimalism and frugality. Frugality is a harsh lifestyle, completely different from minimalism. In some cases, there are people who live in a frugal style. They want to cut back as much as possible for some reason, mostly for financial reasons. When embarking on financial freedom journeys, many people choose to live frugally to minimize costs. These people have many tricks to cut costs. In essence, they only use the cheapest items possible, and in many cases, they even reuse items that others have discarded, such as furniture and household items. These items are occasionally discarded abroad, but their quality is still very good. In general, the goal of those living frugally is to try to cut all possible costs. In my opinion, frugality should be a tool rather than a lifestyle principle. We use this frugality tool for a certain period of time to achieve a certain financial goal, and after achieving the goal, we should stop using this tool. The reason is that I think if you live frugally for a long time, it will affect the quality of our lives. Going back, my criterion has always been to focus on the quality of life. And of course, this is just my personal opinion. I know there are many people who continue to live frugally, even after they have achieved financial freedom. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, frugality and minimalism are two different lifestyles. Frugality is about cutting costs regardless of all. The more money saved, the better. On the other hand, minimalism is about living adequately with one's needs, eliminating unnecessary things to optimize the quality of the remaining needs. Understanding the root of this issue, we can rest assured that minimalism will not make our lives dull at all. The next misunderstanding is that minimalism will make our lives dull. Some people misunderstand that those who live minimally are living a dull life, and there is nothing interesting. But for me, from the perspective of someone who has lived minimally for quite a few years, I can affirm to you the opposite. Imagine, you have a full glass of water. Now, when you want to add more stones to that glass of water, you must first suck out some water. Otherwise, you will have no way to add stones without causing the water to overflow. This is also like minimalism, helps you eliminate uninteresting things in life, allowing you to focus on the things that bring the most joy. Those pleasures could be traveling, doing business, building a family, raising children, or experiencing as in my case. If any of you have followed me for a long time on Facebook or Instagram, you will see that I have experienced countless activities, from camping, mountain climbing, canoeing, paragliding, music, photography. Not to mention, in terms of work, my job is also quite interesting. All because I no longer have to be entangled with issues of ownership, belongings, material things, so it returns time and freedom to me so that I can experience more interesting things for myself. From there, it makes my life much more interesting. Therefore, I believe that the life of those who live minimally is not boring at all. On the contrary, it is more interesting and of much higher quality compared to a life that is busy with trivial things all day. After finishing work, there is only going to coffee, drinking, shopping, and life is just that. I think we can see quite clearly which life is more interesting. Next, a misunderstanding is that minimalism is just a one-time task. Many people think that minimalism is just an activity to reduce belongings. And when a certain number is reached, we consider ourselves to have completed and become a minimalist. However, if anyone has followed from the first episode until now, you will see very clearly that minimalism is not just about owning belongings or material things. Its root is a process, a journey to find out our sufficiency, from there to live true to our needs. As I mentioned in previous episodes, these needs can change over time. For that reason, it is very necessary for us to always return, to determine what we need, what we want, and where we want to go. Therefore, I said that minimalism is a journey, not a one-time task. The next misconception is that minimalism is only for single people, without any obligations. If you already have a family, you won't be able to live this way. Indeed, minimalism is easier to implement for single people than for those who have a family and children. Because fundamentally, we can control our own lives, but it's very difficult to ask others to live the same way. However, when looking closely at the root of the minimalist philosophy that I shared with you in the previous episode, minimalism can still be applied very well to family life. Because the nature of family life is not different from single life. The family also has things that create value for the family, also has things that do not create value, things that when brought in will create more burden for the family, while the value it brings is not much. Our task is just to determine where the thing that does not create value to eliminate it, and from there pave the way to optimize the valuable things for our family. The difference is that from now on, instead of just doing it alone, it requires a collective way to work together. The most important person is your other half. In my opinion, the most effective way for them to gradually see the value that this life will bring. And from there, they have the motivation to accompany us. That is the ideal case. In the worst case, they can't go along with us, so we just do it alone. But at least when we have shared with them, they also have some understanding of that lifestyle, and more or less they will create change. As for the issue of children, I don't think it's a big problem. In fact, I even think that if children live and grow up in a minimalist family, it will be a good way to teach children about neat, orderly living and know where the values in life are to live true to those core values. This is especially valuable in today's society, where people often chase after fleeting material values. Personally, I believe that if our children grow up in such an environment, learn such lessons, then I believe it will be very good for the kids. Through the recent series on minimalism, I have shared with you a fairly complete journey about minimalism. I believe that with such knowledge, it will help you have a smoother start for your minimalist life. We often share and encourage those around us to implement, and this time, I share it back with you. As I have said, if financial freedom journeys help me no longer depend on money, then this minimalist life has helped me no longer depend on material things. Just these two things alone have created countless values for my life, giving me a lot of time and energy to focus on the most valuable things for my life. I hope that these shares will be helpful to you. If you find this content useful, please press the like button and share it with your friends and relatives so that more people know about this minimalist lifestyle. Goodbye and see you in the next episodes.